दूसरे वाला जो पीडीएफ वाला ओपन कर दीजिए, अनम्यूट हो गया सर। आप
Hello.
PDF ओपन कर दीजिए।
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
हो गया मैडम, डन हो गया।
You are able to see the screen?
हेलो
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So, how many? Okay, let's start this big data morning. So, big architecture. So, it's a unit 5. So it's a big data and characteristics, big data applications, structure versus semi-structured and unstructured data that we talked yesterday. Big data versus data warehouse, जो आप लोगों ने बीचे में पढ़ा होगा, data warehouse and big data. And then HDFC and MapReduce. This is the special thing which is required to be done. Apache Hadoop 1 and 2 yarn. So these are the things which are discussed in these units. So you can read this introduction where the social media, the data of companies and all that is also being handled. So the concept of big data, came up because of Facebook, Twitter, and all the other thing which came up. So big data analytic became important. We discussed yesterday because that data which is coming, it can be even if you are considering defense services, it is used for spying purposes, If it is for production, you want to use data for scientific research and all the things. You want a machine learning process and all the things which we are going to do. So that's a type of thing which happens. So building block of big data analytics are found in big data architecture. So पहले big data architecture में सब आपको मिलेगा. So what is the big data source layer? A big data environment may manage both batch processing and real-time processing. You understand batch processing and real-time processing? So in the data warehouse, the relation database and all these are used and all that. So SaaS applications and Internet of Things devices, this layer is referred to as big data source layer. The management and storage layer. So that again, receiving data from the source and then formatting and doing the data analytic and all that. Analysis layer, this layer is where the business intelligence that was acquired from the big data storage layer is analyzed. So you need to analyze the big data so that you are able to get the final results which are important for your decision making, this and all that. The consumption layer, it's responsible for collecting the findings from the big data analysis layer and delivering them to the appropriate output layer, which is also referred to as business intelligence layer. So you see that all the spectrum starting from the big data source layer to management and storage layer to the analysis layer and the consumption layer. So that's the consumption layer is the layer which passes the data to the intelligent people or for taking decision on what to be done and all that. Right? You understood this? Is it clear? All these 4 layers? Hello? 4 layer, you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The architect component of big data analysis typically includes 4 logical layers or levels. So they are connecting to data source, data governance, system management, and protecting quality of service. This is what is the other 4 layers they are there. So this is in this unit we'll discuss the big data, its characteristics and application. We'll also discuss big data architect and related technology such as MapReduce, HDFC, Apache Hadoop, and Apache Yarn. So that's what we are going to discuss, and this is the objective of this. Explain big data and its characteristics, compare the characteristics of structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data, differentiate big data and data warehouse, describe the distributed file system, explain HDFC and MapReduce, differentiate between FJ Hadoop, 1 and 2 yard and all that. So that type of thing which are there. So now big data and its characteristics. So therefore you can see that there is a characteristics of big data are volume, velocity, variety, veracity. So because big data talks about the volume, velocity with which data is generated. You can see now data within few months, data is generated as much which was generated in few years there, or even 100 years. 100 years of meteorological data is come up within 2 months of the with the velocity that's what it the amount of information that you currently have access is referred to as volume. So we are having gigabytes of terabyte, petabyte, exabyte, zettabyte, and jutobyte of information. So it's all 10 to the power 3 of this. Gigabyte is 10 to the power 6, terabyte is 10 to the power 9, petabyte is 10 to the power 12, so on. Exabyte is 10 to the power 15, 10 to the power 18, 10 to the power 21. सारी दुनिया का डेटा आ जाता है. Velocity, the speed at which data is generated and therefore should be processed, is referred to velocity of that process. When it comes to the efficiency of any operation involving vast amount of data, high velocity is a fundamental requirement. So that's also there. It's a burst and linking of income data set. Then variety. The term variety relates to the numerous form of the data. कोई प्रोडक्शन डेटा है, कोई कॉस्ट है, कोई मनी है, all these things are there. We mean the various kinds of big data that are variable. Then veracity is data relates to its accuracy. Lack of veracity can cause significant harm to the precision of your findings. So that's important. So veracity, all these are 4 V's are there. It started with 3 V's, it became 4 V. Ultimately, it has become 8 V's. That is value, validity, volatility, and variability. All these are a visualization. 9 V बन जाता है. So that's what you can see. एक डायग्राम हमारे होगा. नहीं, डायग्राम नहीं दिया हुआ है इसलिए. But there is a diagram which shows all these 9 V's in the second. I'll give you the diagram later. So this is the value, the benefit that your organization gains from utilizing data are referred to as value. Validity, the characteristics of big data relates to how valid and pertinent are the facts that are going to be used. Volatility relates to the lifespan, कितना देर के लिए डेटा की लाइफ है. Variability, the field of big data is continuously changing. In some cases, the information you obtained from one source may not be the same as that you found today. So that's the visualization. You may be able to express the insight that were generated by big data by using visual representation. So this is some example of big data. Big data can be illustrated by looking at the stock exchange, social media. In just 30 minutes of flying time, a single jet engine is capable of producing more than 10 gigabytes of data. So you can see how much data is, because it will take temperature, it will take speed, it will take humidity, it will take all type of things. And every second or every minute, it will take the observation, and that becomes a few gigabytes of information. A big data system is primarily an application of big data in an organization for decision support. The following 4 components are required for big data: ingestion, collection and preparation of the data, storage, analysis, and consumption. So these are the 4 important things which we discussed earlier also. So that's you need a component that is responsible for collecting the data. Big data may be future worldwide governance and business, improved decision making, data driven customer services, efficiency optimization, real time decision making. So even see the now medical report, if it is all internet-based medical report, then you don't need to carry the papers to any doctor. Any doctor can access your medical report. Any, for example, your biodata can be there on Google. Anybody can go. You go to Dr. Ratan K. Datta, you will find my biodata, which is so that type of things are very, very important. And so these are the things which are there, and you can get all the fields of the big data, which is enormous application. And then you don't have to, once the big data is available, you have to see all the 9 V's. We talked about uh, velocity, volume, velocity, variety, validity, all the things, all 9 V's we have to see. And that's where the important thing is, including visualization, all that. So, big data applications that I see being, for example, even medicine, healthcare is important, is any production, anything is important. That's why you have now millions of jobs in big data, because machine learning comes up, AI comes up, and big data is so huge that it can be very productive for the general application and general sustainability of the development. So one of the industry that makes the most use of the big data technology is the travel and tourism. So it has made it possible for us to analyze, anticipate the need for travel facility in a variety of locations. They are improving business through dynamic pricing and number of other factors. देखिए, travel and tourism हमारे इंडिया में इतना नहीं आ रहे. That's why I think Narendra Modi ji, wherever he goes, he talks to all the Indian community as well as the foreign community to visit India. And that's where Big 20, he made it at so many places so that people could visit and see there are tourist places and all that. Because tourists को बिग डेटा से एनालाइज करना है, उनको कैसे कंफर्टेबल बनाना है, so that the things are easier for them. So now it's a good, एक तो it can create mixing of the foreign population with the Indian population. That is one. Second is monetary benefits. There is, if there are so many tourists coming, so that the benefit comes, the foreign currency comes into India, and that money is spent by the tourist in India, so that helps growth of the financial status of the country. That means social media sites produce a significant amount of data. See, for example, all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, all these make so much of big data, so that marketer to make greater use of the information provided by social media platforms. Big data technology is utilized widely within the financial and banking sector. अब बैंकिंग में अब देखिए जो जीएसटी कम हुआ, you have to see that everywhere GST has to be seen that it is being affected properly, so that the people are not being necessarily troubled for extra GST. That's important. The field of healthcare has already witnessed significant changes brought by big data. Application implementation, individual patient can now receive individualized medical care that is tailored to their specific need, because all the data of the various diseases, various people are there on the internet. If that is there, but then lot of information is there, lot of data analysis can come, lot of diagnostic system can be made, so that people are able to use particular medicine. And also, फॉर एग्जाम्पल किसी को ब्रेन कैंसर है, उसको ब्रेन कैंसर के लिए क्या मेडिसिन होना चाहिए, किसी के लंग कैंसर है, उसके ऐसे ही अब टीवी जैसे पहले टेलीविजन tuberculosis was almost a deadly disease. Now tuberculosis is a very routine disease. It can be cured very easily. So that type of thing which happens there. So use big as recommended is another popular application in big data. Big data allows business to recognize pattern of client behavior in order to provide better and more individual service to those customers. तो आप देखिए अगर माल में आप चीजें प्रॉपरली स्टोर करेंगे so that bread, butter, egg, and all these things are very closely related, so that you people can easily take the thing in the cart. अगर एक ब्रेड यहाँ है बटर वहाँ है तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. दैट्स अगेन देन आप क्या चीज जनरली महीने में क्या लेते हो. So the IoT can again provide you this same facility so that you buy those things, and those things are sent. You are given the pricing कि ये कम हो गया है, ये बढ़ गया है, and all these things are important. So one of the most important industries that produces and use big data is the telecommunication and multimedia business. Every day, bytes of new data are created and managed. Zettabyte is 10 is about 15. So that type of data is being created. In addition, the government and military makes heavy use of big data technology. You may think of quantity of data that the government generates on its record, and in the military, a standard fighter jet plane needs to handle petabyte of data while it is on the air. So that's because it has to take care that no person, no enemy is able to see the aircraft is going and all these things. Companies are able to predictive analysis because of the capability provided by big data technology. It lets business to make more accurate prediction of the outcome of processes and events, which in turn helps them reduce risk. Companies are able to develop insight that are more accurate because of big data. So that type of thing. So you can see these all the example which are the points which we are given there, so that you can see that this is the big data application. So right from main production to the medicine to travel, tourism, and all these things. There are lot of applications of big data, and army has a lot of application of big data. Defense and offense require big data anyway. So that how do you analyze the data, that we'll study. So structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. So the term structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data क्या होता है, all these things. So structured data has been around for quite some time, and even today, environment system and report continue to rely on this type of data. In spite of this, there has been a rapid increase in production for unstructured and semi-structured data. So we are going to discuss data classification. ये structured data है, and unstructured data कौन सा होता है? Information that is displayed in its most unprocessed form is referred to unstructured data. It's really difficult to work with this data because it's a minimal structure, and the formatting is also very confusing. So unstructured data management can collect data from a variety of sources such as posting on social media platform, conversation, satellite imagery, data from Internet of Things, sensor devices, email, presentation, and organize it in storage space, and logical and structured. So then you have to unstructured databases, you have to find out the value. You have to find out the importance of unstructured data so that you analytical person, whereas structured data can be analyzed very easily, whereas unstructured data को पहले pre-process करना पड़ेगा, and then you have to analyze. Similarly, semi-structured data, this is third kind of data that falls between structured and unstructured data, called semi-structured data, partially structured. Your data set might not always be structured or unstructured. One variety of data is semi-structured data and differs from unstructured data and it possesses both consistent and defined quality. So this type of thing helps in organizing. So because you have to have structured data can be analyzed very easily. Unstructured data is much more difficult to analyze, and semi-structured data can be better than unstructured data, so that can be analyzed and all that. So this is what use delimited files in in one illustration of a data format that is only semi-structured. It has elements that are capable of separating the hierarchy of data into their own distinct structure. So that type of thing there is. So that five application of big data and all these things there are. Big data and data warehouse. देखो आपने data warehouse BCA में पढ़ा होगा. And big data you are reading now. What should you buy for implementing an analytic system for your organization? A big data solution or data warehouse? A data warehouse and a big data solution are quite similar in many respects. Both have the capacity to store a significant amount of information. When reporting, either option is acceptable to utilize, but the question that needs to be answered is whether they can truly be utilized as a substitute for each other. That is not possible. In order to understand this, you need to have a conceptual understanding of both big data and data warehousing. So, form big data that can be found in Hadoop, Cloudera, and other similar big data platforms is a type that is understood by most people. Following our working definition of big data, say type of technology that is able to store extremely vast volume data, and technology that is capable of storing the data in devices that are not pricey, a type of data storage technology at which the data is kept in unstructured manner. Data warehouse has had a widespread uses in the past 2 decades, where big data applications have seen significant rise over the course of the past decade. Big data are expected to eventually replace traditional data warehousing, which is the first thing that comes to the mind someone who is not technically very deep into this. So both of these have a significant amount of information. Both may be utilized in the reporting process. Both are controlled by devices that save information. This, but despite this, big data and data warehouse are not the same thing at all. Why? Understand we need to recapitulate the basic concept of data warehouse. A data warehouse is a subject-oriented, non-volatile, integrated, and time-variant collection of data that is generated. ये सारा structure में आ जाता है. Aim of management making decision with such data. A data warehouse provides centralized, integrated, granular, and historical point of the reference for all the company's data in one convenient location. So why do individuals demand a solution that involves big data? People are looking for a solution for big data because there is a significant amount of data in many organizations, and in such companies that data it is it's assessed properly can include a great deal of important information that can lead to better decision, which in turn can lead to more revenue, more profitability, and more customer, and the vast majority of business want to do this. So why are the reason people are using require data warehouse in order to people make decision based on the accurate information. So in short, we can understand the data warehouse involves the process of collecting data from a number of sources, processing it, and storing it in repository where it can be analyzed, used for reporting. The procedure described here results in the isolation of a data repository that is known as data warehouse. Comparison big data as this. Therefore, what do we find when we investigate data warehouse in conjunction with big data? So that a big data solution is an example of a form of technology, whereas data warehouse is an example of a type of structured architecture framework. These two parts of the same thing could not be more different from each other, from one another. To put it other way, is technology can be loosely defined on as any mechanism that is capable of storing and organizing huge amount of data, a facility that stores and organizes data with the aim of guaranteeing a company credibility and technically known as data warehouse. And data warehouse are becoming increasingly common. When data is taken from a data warehouse, the person taking the data is aware that other individuals are using the same data for various people. This is because different people are taking the data. The availability of the data warehouse ensures the availability of foundation that can be this. So you can see big data and big data warehouse. These are the points which are differentiated. So 8 points are given there. So big data refers to data that is stored in an extremely large format that can be utilized by many technology. They are referred to the accumulation of such data from a variety of business processes within an organization. The term big data refers to type of technology that can store and manage extensive amount of data. A data warehouse is a structure that is utilized in the process of data organization. As input, it will accept data that is either structured, non-structured, or semi-structured. The only type of the data that can be used as input is structured data, because data warehouse has a structured data. The distributed file system is used for processing the data. Processing operation in the data warehouse are not carried out using a distributed file system. When it comes for retrieving data from database, big data may not use SQL queries. To get data from relation database, we use structured query language or SQL. So Apache Hadoop is capable of managing massive amount of data. It is difficult for data warehouse to manage an extremely large volume of unstructured data. So you can see that modification to the data that occurs on result of adding new data are saved in the form of a file which is represented by a table. Changes in the data that occur as a result of adding new data do not have an immediate and direct effect on the data warehouses. When opposed to data warehouse, big data doesn't require the same level of effective management strategies. As a result of the effect that data of compiled form a variety of business division, the data warehouse calls for management strategy that are more effective. So big data are distributed file systems. So we extend our discussion on distributed file system at this. So then the next is is the distributed file system, because in distributed file system you can always take structured, unstructured, and semi-structured all the data there, whereas in uh, data warehouse you are only talking of structured data. So distributed file system is a file system that is distributed across a large number of file servers, maybe at several locations. So allowing program to access files from any network or computer. So the primary objective of distributed file DFS is to facilitate the sharing of the user data and all these things. So you can see the DFS is composed of two distinct components: location transparency and redundancy. It is established by utilization of file expression. All this you can read this. This is a, we are very in order to gain more clearly distributed file system, you have to have transparency, you have to have structured transparency, you have to access transparency, naming transparency, and replication transparency. So, the, what is structured transparency? There is no reason for the client to be aware of the number of file servers and storage devices and geographical location, but it always recommended to provide a number of different file servers to improve performance, adaptability, and dependability. Access transparency, the access process for locally stored files and remotely stored files should be identical. So naming the transparency, there should be no indication in the name of the file as to where the file is located or any way, shape. It should not be added. Replication transparency, if a file is copied on multiple nodes, the location of the copies of the file as well as the copies themselves should be hidden when moving from one node to another. So that type of thing. So number two is user modality, performance, simplicity and ease of use, high availability, scalability, high reliability, and data integrity, security, heterogeneity. So these are the things which are the work of DFC can be put into practice in one of the two different ways, that is standardization DFC system or domain-based DFC system. This you can read this and then come to, you can understand this and all that. So these are the this, and then HDFC. This is data is being produced in a lightning speed, very fast speed in the modern period by a wide variety of sources such as corporation, scientific data, email, blog, and other online platform, among other places. This and all that. So this is a prerequisite for being able to analyze and manage the data. The category application is required as to fulfill a number of characteristics such as being able to tolerate errors, performing parallel processing. You know parallel processing, right? Whereas the number of processors are put in the same computer and then a lot of parallel processing is done. Distributed data, maintaining load balancing, being scalable, having highly available operations, and all these things. So Hadoop is a collection of several software services that are freely available. So that type of the Hadoop is this. Hadoop Distributed File System, HDFC, and the MapReduce program, all these are important. So Hadoop Distributed File System, abbreviated HDFCA, is a self-healing distributed file system that offers dependable, scalable, and fault tolerant. So that you can read this. And MapReduce program, there are the MapReduce program framework and the Hadoop distributed file system. And this is a MapReduce engine are responsible for both job tracking and job execution respectively, and each of the mentioned demos run on their responsive. So finally, we will discuss the SDFC Hadoop file system, name node, all these things you can read, data node and all these things. These are the Hadoop. Okay, name node. This is a data file. Uh, and data node. So name node, data node, and this side is job tracker. These are the job trackers and all that. So this is the Hadoop demonstrated and all that. और ये है, this is name node को data node 1, data node 2, data node 3, secondary name node and all that. And this is the secondary name nodes. So this is name node, FS image, copy the update this FS image and all that, secondary name node and all that, Hadoop clusters and all that. These are the map and reduce phase. So this is the input data, this is the map phase, this is the reduce phase, and this is output data. So reduce करके कर देते हैं, so that during a map reduce task, the input data is often segmented and partitioned into pieces before being broken up and processed in parallel by the map phase. And then by the reduce phase, the data that is generated by the map phase is arranged and organized by Hadoop architecture. The result of the map phase is sorted by Hadoop framework, and this information then sent as input to the reduce phase in order to begin parallel reduce job. Figure 4 में जो था. These inputs and output files are saved on the system file list. So that one you can see this. This is the map reduce. This is KB map reduce, and this is the reduce file. KB3 comes up. For the same line as the SDFC, MapReduce also make use of master and slave architect, as illustrated in figure 6. Yeah. This is the job tracker, the reduce, and reduce, this is a map, and that's the task tracker. So all these things are there. Job trackers. So FJ Hadoop 1 and 2 yarn. FJ Hadoop 1 suffered from a number of architecture flaws, the most notable of which was a decline in the overall performance of the system. Actually, the cause of the problem was the excessive strain that was placed on MapReduce component of the Hadoop 1. So that is where this. However, with Hadoop 2, application management is now handled by a new component known as Yarn, which takes over responsibility for resource management, yet another resource negotiator. As a result, MapReduce is in charge of managing application management in Hadoop 2, where Yarn is in charge of managing the resources. With the release of Hadoop 2, Yarn has added two additional daemons. These are resource manager and node manager. So these are the things which are this, we talked about it. So these are the Hadoop 1, Hadoop 2. This is MapReduce, other type of job, Yarn, this and all that. So that type of thing which can be easily seen. This is Hadoop 1 again, D2, so big, hive, Mahout, all the things are there. So this covers our unit 5. अरे 5 पर रुक गया है.
आपका सर उधर आ गया होगा, अभी प्रेजेंट हो रहा होगा. आप देखिए, अभी पढ़ाइए.
आप नेक्स्ट यूनिट 7 के लिए फिर आना पड़ेगा तुम्हारे पास.
नहीं नहीं, इसी में है सर, इसी में आगे तक जाएगा.
ओके फाइन, थैंक यू.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू सर.
So okay children, let us see programming using MapReduce. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now we go to unit 6, programming using MapReduce. Okay, so this is what is the introduction, objective, MapReduce operation, HDFC, all these things are there. So that's the basic and introduction. In unit 5, this look, you have gone through the concept of HDFC, Hadoop, data file system and all that. So that's where, so you can say objective is define MapReduce, explain the main characteristics of MapReduce, then discuss the various phases of MapReduce, mapper, shuffle, and reduce. So illustrate the MapReduce operation and leading of the data into HDFC. So these are the things. So let us see MapReduce operation. Advances in information technology the last 2 decades have led to the tremendous growth of data, like database management system, data warehouse, World Wide Web, and all these things. So computation of page rank, this application requires to collect huge amount of information about various web pages and perform multiplication on the high dimension. बेटे स्क्रीन उड़ गई है. हाँ, so computation of page rank, social network, friend network, etc. This you can just see that. And prior to 2004, huge amount of data was being stored in single server. Thus, if any program was running a query which is involved in data storage on multiple servers, there was no means for logical integration. But now MapReduce is the programming model that can process as well as analyze huge data logically across machine clusters. So the mapper is responsible for data sorting, while reducer divides it into logical things. So there's the mapper and reducer. These are the two things. So Hadoop MapReduce, a processing unit of Hadoop using which we can process the big data stored in HDFC. It allows to perform parallel and distributed computing in huge data. MapReduce is used in indexing and search of data. So classification of data, recommendation of data analysis. These are the two functions of MapReduce. One is map function, and another is reduce function. So these are the two things which are important. The input to map function are sequence record which are stored on DFS. A number of map functions create a sequence key value pairs from this, and please refer to figure 2 जो होता है. Then advantage of Hadoop MapReduce देख लीजिए. Parallel processing, data is processed in parallel, that makes processing fast. Data locality, map function is generally performed locally on the DFS node where data is stored. The MapReduce system makes sure that processing is performed in a fault tolerant manner. This is the figure which is this is a MapReduce input, maps, reduce, and output. And figure 2 is there. It talks about key value, map reduce value. So there's a map as a key value and key and value. List is key and value. Reduce is key and list. List is key and value. So these are the key value pairs in map reduce. It is a key K1, V1, key key first, value first, key 2, value 2, key 2, list V2, list K3, V3, and so on. So loading data into SDFC, this is how it is done. Okay, this is what is installing Hadoop. Here, these are the program which is there. You can see that this is a program given in the book. You can go through the program and learn how to be done. This is a yarn program. So loading data, it can also MapReduce and Hadoop का program दिया हुआ है. Statement सब जगह दे रखी है. Execution of MapReduce phase, उसमें भी program दिया हुआ है. And map, shuffle and reduce operation for input text and all these things, ये उसके दिया हुआ है. देख लीजिए. Ram, Sham, Mother, and so on. So इसको break कर दिया. Ram, Sham, Mohan, Ram, Sham, and these are the broken up and all that. Then ultimately Ram 3, Sham 3, Mohan 3 there. 3 Ram थे, 3 Sham थे, 3 Mohan थे. वो ऐसे final आ गया. This is the pseudo code for word count in MapReduce. Reduce phase execution, इसमें भी program है. So all these are given in the software is given for that, so that you can see it very clearly. What are the node failure, MapReduce कोई program दिया हुआ है. So algorithm using MapReduce, word counting, matrix vector multiplication, इसमें भी सारा program दिए हुए हैं. So you have to see this whole programming logic so that you can understand the scalability, flexibility, fast processing, and parallel processing. There are many advantages of MapReduce as follows. So that these are the 4 things which are advantages. Programming setup, it has given in the full program so that you can really go through the process very carefully. आप लोगों को Hadoop आता है. Hadoop is very similar to Java, but it's simplified, and that's the one which this is all. These are the references. Oh, Unit 7.
हेलो, हाँ सर।
यूनिट 7 नहीं आया अभी।
नहीं आ रहा सर,
ना,
आवाज नहीं आ रहा सर।
7 नहीं आ रहा बेटे।
7 नहीं आ रहा, ओके।
अभी 5, 6 हो गया, 7, 8 आना है अभी।
ठीक है सर, ये कीजिए आप अभी।
इसमें एक्सेप्ट करूं?
हाँ सर, एक्सेप्ट कीजिए।
मैडम ऐसे कराएंगे ना, जो एमसीए का कोर्स चलेगा नवंबर में ना, वो थर्ड फ्लोर में चला देंगे, थ्योरी करा के प्रैक्टिकल में।
अभी सर कंट्रोल छोड़ दीजिए, मैं करता हूँ।
सर पीछे फर्स्ट का वर्ड है, इसलिए मैं लेना नहीं चाहता हूँ, कंट्रोल कौन कर देंगे उसकी है ना फीलिंग, पीछे बढ़ते हैं क्या का वर्ड है।
अब यूनिट 7 आ गया। असल में वॉल्यूम में करते तो नेक्स्ट में यूनिट 8 आएगा। तो
हाँ सर, इसको ना इसका मिनिमाइज ऐसे कर देंगे और यहीं पे 8 है,
हाँ,
तो इसको मिनिमाइज करके 8 वन ओपन करेंगे तो 8 ओपन हो जाएगा।
नहीं, आई विल टेल यू टू डू इट। ओके, ऑल राइट। So, are you ready for Unit 7?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
पिछला जो यूनिट सारा प्रोग्रामिंग का ही था, तो यू हैव टू सी दैट दिस, इसमें ये स्पार्क फ्रेमवर्क है, हाइव है, एंड एच बेस वगैरह है, so that you will see. Unit 5 and 6, you have gone through the concept of Hadoop and MapReduce. So that's uh, unit introduces you to basic software stack of Spark architecture, one of the most popular architecture for handling large data. In addition, this unit introduces two important tools: Hive, which is data warehouse system, and HBase, which is an important database system. An open source NoSQL database called HBase uses HDFC, and Apache Hadoop is to function. Unlimited data can be stored on this extendable storage. Built on HDFC, Hive is a SQL engine that uses MapReduce. So it's all SQL level hai, so that you can always use it. So these are the objective. You can see that. And up to Spark framework. With Spark, the scalability and fault tolerance of Hadoop MapReduce were preserved while being designed for quick iterative processing, such as machine learning and interactive data analysis. So as we have already discussed in Unit 6, MapReduce programming and all that. So therefore, Update Software Foundation released Spark to quicken the Hadoop computing process. तो एपचे वालों ने ही ये स्पार्क करा था, एंड स्पार्क का मतलब ये है कि इट डज इट फास्टर. स्पार्क हैज इट्स ओन cluster management, hence it is not dependent on Hadoop and is not revised form of Hadoop. Hadoop is merely one method of implementing Spark. So Spark in many cluster computing, which accelerates application processing, is the key feature. Numerous tasks, including batch processing, iterative algorithm, interactive queries, and streaming can be handled by Spark. Spark is a much more popular thing. So in 2009, Berkeley-based AMP Lab launched Apk Spark as a research initiative. It's done by the Berkeley Lab. Fast processing in Hadoop cluster, multi-language support, advanced analytics support. So these are the advantages of the Spark. ये फिगर 1 में देख लिए स्पार्क इंजन, डेटा प्रोसेसिंग, ऑर्केस्ट्रेशन, यार्न, एंड HDFC, Amazon S3, and Azure Blob, Google this and all that. So consume data scientists, REST interface, file download, and all these things are available. So HVR, this. So you can see this is a Spark data lake, which is very, very faster than the HDFC. Hadoop yarns Spark and may produce. You can just go through this. You can see that this is a machine learning library. It's a distributed framework for machine learning processing. So that's M library developed. So we Spark M library is 9 times faster than the Apache manner. So this is faster things which are happening. ये देखिए स्पार्क एसक्यूएल इंटरेक्टिव लाइब्रेरी स्केला जावा पाइथन तो आर सो दीज आर जावा से पाइथन आ गया पाइथन से आर आर प्रोग्रामिंग स्टैटिस्टिकल के लिए ज्यादा यूज होता है so that's Python is a general use. ये सारा स्टेटमेंट है दिया हुआ है. This is again programming. All these programs are download करने के लिए सब कर. These are high Hadoop utility for processing structure. It is called Hive. Hive. It is it sits on top of the Hadoop. So that's again ये Hive का बताया हुआ Hive server है, compiler है, driver है, beeline है, metastore है, optimizer है. So these are the things which are there. So processing and resource management, distributed storage, Hive client आ गया, तो Hive services आ गया, Hive server 2, Hive driver. All these are the Hive compiler, optimizer, execution engine. All these things are there of Hive. Working of Hive queries. Step 1, execute query command, Hive U1, either command line or web viewer, and so on. Step 2, get plan. Step 3, get metadata, so on. These are the step 4, step 5, step 8 to 10, send result command. The execution engine now receives the contemporary files. And so that all you can see that it is there, it's there programmed, it is done so that you can really look for even on the your desktop. ये देखिए सारा प्रोग्राम उन्होंने बनाया हुआ है जो हडूप का है सारा उसको बताया हुआ है राइटिंग क्वेरीज इन हाइव बताया उसमें ही प्रोग्राम दिया हुआ है तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स हैव इन द हाइव की क्वेरी दी हुई है शो डेटाबेस डिफॉल्ट यूजर डू डेटाबेस स्टेटमेंट ड्रॉप सो क्या है हाइव ड्रॉप डेटाबेस इफ एग्जिस्ट Hive drop database if exists, cascade, and column name, comment table, so on, so forth. All these are programming in this. So ये सारा प्रोग्राम कर लिखा हुआ है. अब HBase पर आ गया. RDBase has been answer to issues with data maintenance and this. After big data became prevalent, business began to realize Hadoop this. तो इसलिए Hadoop base का बना दिया data. So that's what Hadoop H stand for Hadoop and that base बना दिया. So similar to Google's big table, HBase is a data model created to offer speedy random access to enormous amount of structured data. It makes use of Hadoop file system, fault tolerance, HDFC means Hadoop file system, so data file system. So that's the type of thing which happen. ये देखिए, column 1, column 2, column family, so on, so on. ये zookeeper, all these things are this H-based component having H-based master and several region server. So एक master हो जाता है जब in parallel processing में one processor becomes the master, other become the slave or handlers and all these things. So that's what it parallel processing is always पहले आपका कोर्स था MC में parallel processing, but इन्होंने now they have removed the parallel processing because almost supercomputers are parallel processing. There are millions of, if you go to Google and you see which are the fastest supercomputer in the world, you will see it is having probably few million processor working with it. So that's the type of thing which is H-based installation is again program दिया हुआ है. सारा everything is working with H-base. ये भी बताया हुआ है उसको प्रोग्राम के साथ. other tools, उसमें भी उन्होंने program बता दी है, brief mentions is there, and that's it. So these programs are of great help to you so that you can write, you can put it on your desktop and then see the working of this. You will find wonderful results and all that. So that's where you can see that. Okay, so then we go to the eighth. Uh, I lost him to put the eighth one.
Sir, no issue. You can do yourself by crossing that up one. सर ऊपर से
Huh?
क्रॉस कर दीजिए ना, आ जाएगा.
Eighth बता दो बेटे.
ओके सर, एक मिनट, आप फिर दोबारा इसको सर एक्सेप्ट करना होगा.
यस बेटे, क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे थे.
नो सर, जैसे बोल रहा था ना वो जो चैप्टर 8 है मैं क्रॉस लगा के हो सकता था ऊपर से.
एक मिनट. अब 8th यूनिट ले लो. ओके, इसको भी बड़ा कर दो. गुड. ये क्या आ गया? हाँ, नहीं, ये नहीं. विंडो लेवल. ओके, नहीं. Oh, yes, now ask the question.
No sir,
Hello?
all clear sir, all clear.
Okay. So, NoSQL database, that's the one which we are talking here, column-based, graph-based, key value, document-based and all that. That's what you will see this NoSQL this. Define what is NoSQL and SQL. Explain the basic feature of column-based NoSQL database. Explain the graph-based NoSQL database. Explain the key value based on the NoSQL. This is it. So now we have been talking of SQL-based system. Now we are talking of NoSQL database. So databases are a crucial part of many technology and practical systems. The phrase NoSQL database is frequently used to describe any non-relational database. NoSQL is sometimes referred to as non-SQL, but it is also referred to not only SQL. In either case, the majority of the people agree that a NoSQL database is a type of database that stores data in a format that is different from the relation table. Whenever you want to use the data, it must first be saved in a particular structure and then converted into usable format. On the other hand, there are some circumstances in which the data are not always presented in a structured style, which means that their schemas are not always rigorous. This unit provides an in-depth look into NoSQL data that make it unique. So what is NoSQL is a way to build database that can accommodate many different kinds of information, such as key value pairs, multimedia files, documents, columnar, data, graph, external file, and more. So in order to facilitate the development of the cutting edge application, NoSQL was designed to work with a variety of different data models and schema. The great functionality, ease of development, and performance at scale offered by NoSQL have helped make it popular. So NoSQL has become also important for the big data. So brief history of ये देखिए, we can think of such well-known example as Mongo database, Neo4j, Hypergraph database, and all these things. So in the late 2000, as the price of storage began to plummet, NoSQL database began to gain popularity. So this is 97 to 2000 mainly are DMS related, Oracle, IBM DB2, SQL Server, MySQL. In 2000, 2005, dot-com boom, new scale solution, start of NoSQL, उसमें कंपनी गूगल, फेसबुक, IBM, Amazon. So 2005 and 10, new open source and mainstream database, the Cassandra, React, Apache, HBase, new 4G, Mongo database, Couch database, and Redis. All these are things. They say 2010 onward, adoption of cloud. So database as a service. So that is what comes important. So this is that's the cost per million byte of data over time. So कैसे cost होती है, cost of million byte in US dollars. So that's the type of thing. कहाँ इतने small dollars say it's going to almost $6,000 and so on. So that is in year 2024, the things are becoming 25. Things are becoming still more expensive when the data is too large. NoSQL data features. Every NoSQL database comes with its own set of one of a kind capability. Columns are schema flexibility, horizontal scaling, quick response to queries as a result of data model, ease of use for software development. Difference between RDBS and NoSQL is difference or similarity between the two DBS are as follows. For the most part, NoSQL database fall under the category non-relational or distributed database, while SQL databases are classified relation database. Database that use the structured query language are table-oriented, while NoSQL database use either document-oriented or key value pairs or wide column storage or graph database. Unlike NoSQL database, which have dynamic or flexible schema to manage the unstructured data, SQL database have a strict or static schema. Structured data is stored using SQL, whereas both structured and unstructured data can be stored using NoSQL. So NoSQL में unstructured data भी store हो सकता है. SQL database are thought to be scalable in vertical direction, whereas NoSQL database are thought to be scalable in horizontal direction. So these are the increasing the computing capability of your hardware is the first step in the scaling process for SQL. This, in contrast, NoSQL database scale by distributing the load over the multiple servers. MySQL, Oracle, PostSQL, and Microsoft SQL servers are all examples of SQL database. Bigtable, MongoDB, Redis, Cassandra, RavenDB, HBase, CouchDB, etc. are few examples of NoSQL database. Example होना है. So this is MySQL जो है that's वो जो है Oracle, PostSQL, and Microsoft SQL are there, and all others are this NoSQL. So non-SQL is horizontally growing, whereas SQL are vertical growth. So vertical scalability is required for SQL database. This means that the excessive amount of load must be able to be managed by increasing the amount of CPU, SSD, RAM, GPU, graphic processing unit, etc. on your server. When it comes to NoSQL database, the ability to scale horizontally is one of their defining characteristics. This means that the addition of additional server will make the additional servers जो होंगे will make the task managing demand more manageable. So this is the type of non-SQL database. In this section, we will discuss the many classification of this. This is column-based, graph-based, key value, document-based. So these are the things which you can say. Column-based are जो column store करते हैं, and because columns are frequently of the same kind, they are able to take advantage of more efficient compression. Although columnar databases are excellent for analytical because of the way they publish data, it is challenging for them to remain consistent because the rights to all published data, it is challenging for them to remain consistent because rights to all the column and need several writes events on the disk, etc. How does a column database work? A columnar database is a type of database management system that allows data to be stored in column rather than rows. So this is column database. then column database versus raw data, then processing big data analytic and all these things. So the relation database and example ये है ID number, first names, last name, amount. So these are the things. In a columnar database, the data will be stored in the following format. This is the format. In a row column, this is the Sima Core, this is the Tappan Roy, this and all that. Where वहाँ क्या है A this, B this, सीमा टप्पन श्रीकांत कौर राव पीटर वो ये देखो टप्पन राव यहाँ पीटर इधर आ जाता है सो ऑन द डिफरेंस हो जाता है इसमें सारा इकट्ठा हो जाता है वेयर एज हियर इन ए कॉलमर बेस पहले सारा वो आ गया फिर नेम आ गए ओके इसमें सारा फिर फंड आ गए इसमें आ गया पहले ने वो क्या क्लासिफिकेशन है ID number, then name, then पैसे फिर ID number, name and पैसे उसमें पहले ID सारे आ गए फिर नाम सारे आ गए फिर पैसे आ गए so this is the column based and this is the row based so that's the difference you can see that's the data storing and all that एडवांटेज डिसएडवांटेज देख लीजिए कि कॉलम बेस के क्या एडवांटेज है और डेटाबेस के जो क्या है जो नो सीक्वल के एडवांटेजेस क्या है So graph based, the initial hardware hurdle that made it feasible for SQL to handle vast quantity of data are no longer there, despite the fact that SQL is an excellent, superb RDBS and has been used for many years to manage massive amount of data. As a result, NoSQL has rapidly emerged as dominant form of the contemporary database management, and many of the largest websites we rely on today are powered by NoSQL. So that's the type of thing which you can say how does a graph database work so that you can see that this is the one different nodes and edges in the graph database are there are persons city restaurant क्या खा रहे हो क्या नहीं खा रहे like rating reviews how far it is what are the rates of the food and all that so on that basis they ये है example 5 friends sharing social network so everybody is linked to everyone so that's the there and here, this is the ID name this and email and mobile number so this means we will need yet another table to keep track of user relationship our friendship table referred table 4 will resemble the following ये friend ID this Sarah we won't go too deeply into the theory of the database's main key and foreign key. Instead, presume that the friendship table uses both friends' IDs. So 1002 is 1003, 102 is 101's friends, and so on so forth. So 1001 is the friend for all these 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 102 is for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, except 2. And 3 is 1, 2, 4, 5. And 4 is 1, 2, 3, and 5, so on. And 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that type of thing. So this is a robot, that type of thing there. Chaitya Robert, Vinny Dayal, Bhavna Rao, Manish Kumar, Mohit Kumar are accessing other data with a single click. से एक single click से सारा data ये correct हो जाता है. So that type of thing you will see there are a lot of advantage, disadvantage, but NoSQL is being used very efficiently for the big data. Key value database examples. So you can see document based examples. So these are the relational data models, document store model. So these are the book ID, title, and all these things. So author and year. So that's the type of thing which. So how does document database work, document database advantage and disadvantage देख लीजिए, okay, and drawbacks. That makes a complete structure of the. So that is the whole story of NoSQL. So that you can just go through that, you will see इस पे जो last unit हमने करा है अभी, उसमें there are it is documented, well documented, and simple English में दिया हुआ है सब कुछ, so that you can study and be ready so that you can use it in your big data. If you get a job in the big data science, you are able to use this, then you can use NoSQL very profitably. So this is what record this and all that. This is the 104 is a member, 104 चार दफा है, 101, 102, 103, 105. So this is member of this. So ऐसे फ्रेंडशिप के लिए इसने 4, 5 या 20 बनाए हैं. तो इसमें तो सिर्फ 5 थे, लेकिन यहाँ फ्रेंडशिप बनाने के लिए उसको 20 बनाने पड़ेंगे. तो टेबल को it has to be much bigger table for that. But you can check up 101 is friend of 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 is friend of 1, 3, 4, 5. But you could do it as a separate thing also. But it is a friendship table say because it is a column wise and NoSQL work with column wise, तो उसमें ऐसे ही करना पड़ेगा. Okay? So that finishes your block 2. Document based, all these things you can see that that's a very it's a well written document, so you can see this. Okay, so then any question or any doubt?
No, sir.
So then relax now. We'll take class at 1 o'clock. We'll yes, 1 o'clock we'll take AI. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Let me don't go still. Let the picture be taken by office.